Hello parents and new teachers. My name is John Doherty, and in this video I plan on explaining to you all the criteria I use for judging picture books. I will be explaining the awards these books have received, explaining the certain social justice issues and other issues that arise in the story, and why it is important to provide high quality picture books for students in the classroom. When first deciding what picture book would be appropriate and best suitable for my students, I have a list of criteria that needs to be met before I introduce that book into the classroom. According to the book From Cover to Cover, Evaluating and Reviewing Children's Books by Kathleen Horning, these picture books require evaluation of art, text, and how the two work together. We must ask ourselves, what is the story about, and how is the story told? These questions help determine whether or not the book is a high-quality choice for the children. When I read the text in the book, I look for elements of pattern language. These elements are rhythm, and how the text flows and how the reader should read the words, rhyme, having words that sound alike or even a poem-like structure for the story, repetition, the structuring of words or written sounds in the text to stimulate creative thinking, and questions in the story that elicit thought-provoking answers from the reader or listeners. Many of these elements create predictions in the listener's minds. The book's picture elements are extremely important as well because they help provide the listener with better visual understanding of the story. These elements in picture books you must critique are visual elements such as line, shape, texture, color, and value, composition, such as dominance, balance, contrast, gradation, alternation, variation, harmony, and unity. Media, like drawing, painting, printmaking, collage, photography, or possibly a combination of several different types of mediums called mixed media. And lastly, style, whether the illustrations are realistic, abstract, surrealist, non-objective, impressionistic, expressionistic, naive, folk art, or cartoon art. The following books that I will discuss, I believe, meet the criteria necessary to be considered high-quality picture books. The first picture book I will be critiquing today is Rules of the Summer, written and illustrated by Sean Tan. This book won the Boston Globe Honor Award for picture books in 2014. This award is given for excellence in literature for children and young adults. This book falls under the fantasy fiction genre. This story is about two boys, one older or bigger, and one younger or smaller, and a set of rules that might govern a relationship between a couple of friends or brothers during the course of a summer, set to extremely creative and imaginative illustrations. The media that Sean Tan uses is oil painting, and the style he uses would be considered surrealistic illustrations. As you can see from the pictures, certain elements in the book stand out right away. You can see that most of the colors used in the book are warm and bright. He uses a contrast of colors to really make the illustrations pop off the page for the reader and seen in these pictures. You can see how he uses the bright colors in contrast to the earthy and dark colors to highlight a certain part of the image. However, there are parts of the book where he uses grays and blacks with a hint of a brighter color. By changing the value, the lightness or darkness of the hue used, he is able to provide a sense of depth to his illustrations. There is not a lot of text in the book. For each picture, there is one short sentence. There might be some critics that believe that there needs to be more written text, but I believe because the text and illustrations work so well together, it leaves an open interpretation for the reader and listeners. It allows for creative thought processes by the students. The next book to discuss is Where the Wild Things Are, written and illustrated by Maurice Sendak. This book won the Caldecott Award in 1964. This award is given for the most distinguished American picture book for children. This book falls under the genre of fantasy fiction. This is a story about a mischievous child named Max. He gets in trouble with his parents and is sent to his room without dinner. While in his room alone, he imagines himself in a faraway land where giant beast-like monsters roam the land. He becomes king of these monsters and rules over them. But after a while, he begins to tire of being lonely and wants to return back to reality. When he returns, his dinner is waiting for him on the table. The media used in this story is drawing, as you can see from the hatching and cross-hatching used in the illustrations. I would say that the style of illustration used in the book would be a form of cartoon art. The majority of colors used in this book are red, yellow, blue, and green, with a variation of value to the hue for each of them. The hatching and cross-hatching lines help to draw the viewer's eye to the picture and provide texture to the illustrations. Contrast can be viewed in the illustrations as well because of Max's white wolf costume stands out against the colored background. There is more text provided in this book and is now beginning to incorporate quotation texts as well. The next book I have critiqued is Knock Knock, written by Daniel Beatty and illustrated by Brian Collier. This book has won the Coretta Scott King Illustrator Award in 2014 for the most distinguished depiction of African American experience in literature for children. The genre of the book would be considered fiction. However, he does say at the end of the book that it was based on events in his own life and personal events. The story is about a relationship with a son and his dad. The dad would greet the son every morning with a knock knock, and they would cook breakfast together, and the dad would help the son get ready for school. One day, the father isn't around anymore. The son hopes and wishes for his dad to return and even writes him a letter. However, the dad never returned, but left him a letter on his table at home. The letter explains to the son that he will not be able to come home, but the son must learn to do things on his own without the help from his dad. He goes on to say that he will always be with him throughout his life as he goes on to do the things that his dad told him to do on his own in the letter. The media used is watercolor painting and collage. The style used is a combination of realistic and naive. The colors used in the book are very bright and colorful, which help the earthy skin tones of the characters stand out in contrast. Shape is very important in this book because of the style of media being used. The realism of the style of the shapes gives the viewer a clear representation of the images in the story. The final book I critiqued is The Storyteller's Candle, written by Lucia Gonzalez and illustrated by Lulu Delacre. This picture book won the Pura Bel Pre Award in 2008. This award is presented to a Latino writer and/or illustrator for outstanding work that best portrays the Latino culture experience in the literature for children. The genre would be considered fiction, but the story is based off a real person, Pura Bel Pre. The story is set in New York City around the time of the Great Depression. Two children recently arrived in New York from Puerto Rico and are experiencing their first New York winter. They make a visit to their local branch of the public library, even though their mother said not to because the library was only for those who spoke English. The two children soon found out otherwise when their school was visited by a librarian named Pura Bel Pre, who spoke Spanish and showed the children that the library has a place inside for everyone in the community. The style of illustrations is realistic. The hues in the book are very colorful and bright. Much of the lines in the story help with the illusion of texture of the illustrations. The one thing that pops out at you from the book that the other books do not have is the bilingual text. The text is written in both Spanish and English. This allows non-English speaking students to also enjoy the book and can help with learning English or vice versa. One of the critiques to be aware of is whether or not the picture book provides appropriate diversity and whether the book includes any social justice issues or particular themes in the book that students might be able to relate to. In both Rules of the Summer and Where the Wild Things Are, there's an underlying theme of kids needing to have an outlet for creativity and imagination. In Knock Knock, there's a social justice issue of a child living in a single-parent home and having to cope with learning how to become an adult basically on his own. And in The Storyteller's Candle, there is a social justice issue of race and ethnicity, and that the assumption that libraries are only for those who read English and not for those who have immigrated to the United States who might not read or speak English as their first language. The awards I believe that have a greater potential for social injustice issues are the Coretta Scott King Award and the Pure Bell Prey, because these awards are awarded to African American and Latino authors and illustrators, which are both considered minorities, and the publications by minorities are very few these days. I believe The Storyteller's Candle and Knock Knock both challenge the status quo because they touch on issues that many picture books don't, such as a child living in a single-parent home and having a bilingual book for children to read. I have learned much over the past semester about how to better critique my own library of picture books in the classroom and how to include more diversity in it. I hope this video helps you pick out the best suitable books for your home and classroom as well. Thank you and have a great day.